The way of my working was to automate stuff. To automate anything that you're doing manually more than 3 times, you should automate it. So irrespective of who you are, a scrum master or a product owner, you need to have that DevOps mindset. You need to have that DevOps culture for the organization to succeed. For example, if you are onto any production issue, there are very few people, they like to take the ownership. They like to step in that, oh, can we try this? Can we ask these team to do X, Y, Z things? Okay, is it not working? Can we try something different? Can we do a tactical solution? How we can quickly fix that issue for the customer? I think they say the lazy person is the best one to be into this field. The mentorship, I think it's very important. I highly advocate on it that you should have 1 or 2 mentors. I would say I've been quite fortunate till date on my journey. I have got nice mentors. You are one of them, Savinder. You know that. I quite look forward to you on your journey as such. Andy Carr, who I proudly name on this video as well, has been an amazing mentor in my journey. And there are a lot of few others as such, but...
Welcome to our ongoing series, Practitioner of DevOps. In this series, we talk to in-the-field DevOps practitioner and get to know what they really do. We talk about how they got started in DevOps and look at how their careers have evolved. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready to hear some great in the trenches story from folks who are killing it at DevOps. Today's guest is Nikhil Thakare. He's the Head of Digital DevSecOps at the AA, based in the UK. Nikhil started his DevOps journey way back in 2016. Before that, he was a developer and always passionate about automating stuff in life. He started working with the AA from 2018 and was instrumental in solving one of their biggest challenges with Sitecore deployments. From there on, he went on to work across the technology stack at the AA, from Pega, Tibco, Legacy, .NET, Java, institutionalizing DevOps across the organization silos, developing the mindset and the practices in different teams. These efforts led to creating the DevSecOps practice at the AA, which he's heading today. This is a phenomenal growth story from a developer to the head of DevSecOps. Nikhil is one of the finest, brightest DevSecOps minds out there. And in this episode, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about pride, we talk about DevOps mindset, we talk about interviews, we talk about focus and how to develop that. We talk about mentorship, we talk about mental health and a lot more. Watch till the end, learn all you can and get inspired from this conversation. Without further ado, let's head over to Nikhil. Hi Nikhil, how are you?
Hey Savinder, I'm good. How about you?
Good, very good Nikhil. And it is such a pleasure to host you on the channel. We've been friends for a while and I really wanted you to come here and share your journey. It has been a phenomenal journey and I have had the pleasure to have a look at that journey very closely. So I'm really thankful for you for taking out time and coming and talking to people. And I'm sure, folks will benefit a lot and they will have a lot of fun as we discuss all things DevOps. So thank you, Nikhil.
Thanks, Savinder, for having me here today. And I'm excited at the same level as such as well. It has been a good journey and I was quite fortunate to have you on my side as well in the journey. So yeah, looking forward to this discussion.
Sure. So let's start from your current role, right? At you with the AA, you're heading their DevSecOps. So tell us a little bit about the AA for folks who are outside of UK. What's their history? What do they do? Give us a brief about the AA.
Okay. So the AA, as it stands for, the Automobile Association, it was founded in 1905. So we are a century-old company. It's quite a heritage brand known in UK. Like you say the AA and it's known to everyone. It's that kind of reputation it has. So it's quite prideful to work with such an organization. As an organization, it was founded, as I was mentioning, in 1905. The main purpose of the organization since its foundation days is to help UK drivers and everything that revolves around the driving experience. So, be it from starting to learn how to drive, we provide you services like driving school, driving lessons. You need to buy a car, we provide users to buy a car or sell your car if it needed, getting your car insured, and then taking it from there. Main part of our business is breakdown cover. So in UK, it's a bit term, and for folks who are not in the Western or European countries as such, especially for folks in India, we don't have something called a specific breakdown cover. The thing we have is insurance cover, and mostly that part of it. But in Western countries, if you are driving, having a breakdown cover is a necessity. It's kind of a must. What it helps is if you're driving and you're in a journey, and if something goes wrong with your car, let's say even if you have a flat tire or your car is having an issue, then you have to park aside the road. You won't be finding any mechanic over there as a shop, so you'll have to have your breakdown assistance provider, who will come in to your location, help you fix your car, and then set you for your onwards journey. So that's the main important part of the business that we are into, and we are serving multi-million drivers in around the UK.
Perfect. So you mentioned something very interesting. You say there is a lot of pride in working in an organization of this stature, right? So I want to talk about a little bit about that. So not all organizations or enterprise would have such a rich history yet, maybe, right? Some of our listeners could be working in a startup or maybe a smaller organization. So my question to you is, how do you develop that sense of pride in your workplace, and how important is it to start developing that sense of pride as you advance in your career?
That's a very good question, Savinder. And I think if you would have asked me this question 5 years before, my answer would have been completely different. Now I have a bit of different answer, and even if you ask me this question 5 years next, then I would have a different answer. But the thing, irrespective of whether you're working with an organization like us who have a kind of a vast history, pride, treated as a heritage brand, so we are carrying a lot of kind of responsibilities on our shoulder to present the brand name and the brand kind of protecting the brand name itself,
yeah.
right?
The
so
ethos of the brand. Yeah,
exactly. So the main thing, even if you're working in a startup like an organization or a small or a mid-scale, from my perspective, the two questions I always ask in any kind of work that I do is the why and the what. So if irrespective of whether you're working as a developer, as a QA, or even you're working as a head or a CXO, the why part for the task that you're doing, why you are doing this, yeah. And then once you get the why answer, the second would be what benefit you are going to deliver to your customer. If you have these two questions answered, then I think it will directly connect you to the organization you're working on, to the work that you're performing, and it gives you a sense of ownership. So I think if you got the answers for these two questions, you will develop an ownership of the work, and I think once you have that ownership, the pride will follow.
It's beautifully put, and I can sense a bit of Simon Sinek in there, the how and the why. Yeah, but well put. I think those are important questions, and that's the right way to approach it. Makes complete sense. So talk to me about a little bit about what is your current role in the A. What are you responsible for?
Yeah, so I head the DevSecOps function for the A, and my core responsibility is implementing DevSecOps principle across the organization, especially focusing on the digital area where most of our journeys and the customer facing interactions happen, with using all those DevOps tools, processes, and the cultural bit of it, which is very important. So my main responsibility is to looking after our AWS estate, where we run our sales journeys and things like that, and also we have a presence in Azure. So it's a varied role where I have to look after implementing the DevOps principle across these estate and working with a geographically kind of dispersed team. within
Okay.
UK and India and Romania.
UK, India, and Romania. Okay, so we'll come to that in a bit, but I just want to, dive a little bit deeper into your role. So today, as head of the DevSecOps function, in an 8-10 hours of workday, how much time do you spend, doing technical stuff, and how much is it, at a higher level, consulting or laying down strategies? If at a rough, you can give me a percentage wise, that will give people a sense of what's the reality.
Okay, I think from my experience and in working with my peers and the way I see them, the head of DevSecOps is a special role. I'm not saying that it's more important than the others. It's equally important, and their role is equally important as well. But the reason I call it special is the way of work we have into DevSecOps. It's most of my work is towards management side, towards strategizing and creating a roadmap for what we will be building throughout the next year and the year after that. So majority of the part is strategizing the work, but I would still say, because of the nature of the work, not only about the head of DevSecOps, but DevSecOps as a whole, you need to be technically aligned as well. So the management will follow the principles of management, will apply over here, but you have to be on your A game in terms of knowing what's going on into the current DevSecOps field, what's the new things like ChatGPT, AI, cybersecurity is always an ever-growing field where you have different kinds of attacks and threats. So this role does demand you to be quite technically aligned as well. So I'm finding the sweet spot where I do the strategizing bit to make sure that my team and my organization succeeds in their goals, but also making sure at the same time that I'm technically aware of the what's and the hows of the things that are happening in the industry.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think what you're essentially saying is that you have grown from, if I can call it, the technical cadre, right? You have done the groundwork, you've done the grunt work, you understand how the machine works, you understand how the entire A setup works, and you have been with A for a while. So you've grown through the ranks, right? And now you're at a place, because you understand their technology very well and the overall industry technology also, you have a view. That's why you're able to mix those two and give the right direction in terms of strategy to the A.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll just add a bit to it.
Sure.
Yes, it definitely benefit with the experience and my association with the organizations for long. So I know the nitty-gritty of the things, but the nature of this role, irrespective of whether you're new or quite in that organization, the technical element will always be there. So I find it very hard to be a head without not being keeping up with the technical element. And going forward, the way the things are changing, I think that technical element, or not specifically when I say technical, it's not about the hands-on bit, but making yourself technically aware of what things are happening into the industry.
And you've already answered my next question, so I'll skip it. But I heard in a talk once that they said that the head of DevOps or DevSecOps is a guy whose tail is always in the technology. So you shouldn't pull it out. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let me take you back to the start of your journey in the DevOps area, which is about 2015, 2016, sometime around that?
2016.
Yeah, and you've been a developer before that. You've done a bit of automation. You were already interested in that, but it was on the dev side of things, right? So how did you transition from there to DevOps? Was it only the money? Was it something else? So talk to me a little bit about that.
Definitely, and thanks for bringing that question. I would like to share my story as well, because I think it's a bit of interesting nature the way it took turn. So I started my career as an application support. So I was trained to be a Lotus Notes developer. So for anybody's awareness who has not heard the word Lotus Notes, it's an IBM product mainly used for emailing and as a collaborative tool, but there is a 5% of work that happens around application development as well. So I was being trained into be a Lotus Notes developer. I ended up started my job as a Lotus Notes application support. So I was working as a production support team. So I had the ops side of knowledge for a good a year or two, and then I moved to the development side to get the dev side of knowledge as well. So how things work, and you know where I'm going towards this with this. So basically, I had the experience of ops and dev as well. So I know the both were in a way. But while doing this thing, one thing which always I was having in mind, or the way of my working, was to automate stuff. To automate anything that you're doing manually more than 3 times, you should automate it. So in that ops side, so if you are solving any tickets which requires manual work, I used to always find out ways how I can automate it and save some efforts, and maybe buy that time back to me to do something more productive, or maybe go through a course or learn something different. And that's how that interest towards automation and cloud was something new. AWS was just kind of getting up speed into 2010 2011, so that also caught my attention. I did work with a bank, a private bank, HSBC as such, where I was again working as a Lotus Note developer, but did got some chance to try out a bit of things. It was very basics, but mix of some opportunities from organization and some on the personal front. Try to make a bit of get my hands dirty on the cloud, and that's where the interest started more and more. So in 2016, I got a proper opportunity where I could play a full 100% hands-on DevOps role, and you know that opportunity much better than me, because you are the one who provided me with that.
Perfect. So, two things I think to note here. One is the arc from Lotus Notes to Head of DevSecOps. That is something commendable. That is something to be proud of, right? And I know I've seen you grow, and I think that is beautiful. Second, it is also tells you the art of possible. That means person with the right amount of dedication, right amount of focus can make it happen and make it to this level in DevSecOps. So exactly. it's a brilliant example of what clarity of thought and dedicated focus can give you. So I love that. And I think in your answer, I can hone down to why it happened. Because somewhere in your answer, you said, I try to automate something if I'm doing it more than 3 times, which gives a slight hint of your mental makeup, right? And that you can only pick up. You can't teach anybody that.
Yes.
So I love that answer. Beautiful. Beautiful.
The lazy person is the best one to be into this field.
Yes.
I would say I'm a bit of lazy person.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We are the laziest of the lot. We want to put in the automation and let that do the work, and we sit and, have whatever we are having in the cup. Cheers to that, man. Okay. So let's share some fun story now. You've played several roles in the AA, and I'm sure you've been involved in several mission critical initiatives as well, right? So tell us 1 or 2 stories of instances which give you immense satisfaction in terms of creating impact for the AA.
Sure. I think there are a lot of stories, but couple of them, if I have to pick from that lot, is one of the first project that I worked as a DevOps engineer, and I was brought in with a single challenge. The organization wanted to migrate their build and deployment tool chain from an incumbent vendor to in-house. So the organization did have some sort of CI/CD with no view of how it works, what it is, kind of a black box, and the challenge was to get it into the in-house and make it an organization ownership kind of thing, to a fact that at that point even the code base was an IP of the vendor. So you could imagine of what the situation as such was. So that was the challenge I had, and it was a team effort, of course, where we did manage to not only bring the code base, the build pipelines, and the deployment pipeline. So when I say bring into in-house, as the vendor played an IP card where it was their IP, so they couldn't just share it with us as a raw thing. So we did have to kind of build those pipelines from scratch. So that was a tremendous effort that the team had put into it, where we successfully not only managed to move the code base, the pipelines into our organization control, but we also achieved something which was very, very highly appreciated. So the thing was around automation. Before, when the code or the pipelines were sitting with the vendor, it used to take 9 to 10 hours of the deployment time to production, and it was a bi-weekly release. So twice every month, the production system, not the exact website, but the parts of the production system used to be taken down for maintenance so that the deployment could happen on the production. While working on it, I quickly identified a couple of quick wins where I could reduce those time and started to reshuffle the way the pipeline works, introduce something new. And we did manage to bring that down from 9 hours to 2.5 hours full deployment time. So we managed to save close to 80% of the deployment time. So that was a fantastic outcome of what the team had done. We made it zero impact to the business by moving it to offshore. So that even 2.5 hours, which we used to do the deployment, which required the system to be under maintenance, we moved that to offshore team. We developed a couple of offshore resources where before the UK business hours start, they could start with the deployment and get it done even before we log into the system. So that was a phenomenal project that I was part of, and it's still a pride. We did have migrated, it was an on-prem project. We have now migrated into cloud, into Azure, and all those kind of things. But that is one which is really close to my heart personally. So, and similar project, if I just added a similar migration we did for AWS, where we migrated our monolith applications, Java-based applications to AWS, which was not only a lift and shift, it was a full re-architecture of the estate, going to microservices. Now we have close to 300 plus microservices running into AWS quite seamlessly. So these are the two which are always my top two favorites.
Yeah, I can resonate with the first one for sure, because I was part of that journey, made several trips to UK, so I have very fond memories of that. What I love about that specific project, and because I know about it, I can talk a little bit, is that is real business impact, right? Tangible, measurable business impact. The impact brought down from 9 to 2.5 hours, and then subsequently overnight. That is real tangible business value. This is all, the DORA stuff that we hear about, the mean time to deploy and all that. This is right how it gets done. Yeah, so beautiful. Love that. And then migrating the entire estate into 300 odd microservices, that itself tells volumes of the amount of work and amount of strategic planning it would have taken. So I'll come to that in a minute, but I want to stay at this impact thing, right? And when I talk to the youngsters today, I sound old, but so when I talk to, you understand that. So a lot of people, they get restless that, hey, I've been working here for 3 months, 6 months, I have not made an impact. So I have two questions for you. First question is, why is creating an impact so important for today's generation? And second question, a corollary to that question is, why do you think DevOps is a great field to create impact, as opposed to, being a developer in a team of 50 or being a QA expert in a team of 20? They also have their own impact. I'm not playing that down for sure. But because we are here talking about DevOps, what about DevOps makes it special so that you can show impact at scale?
Got it. I think the first one is quite related to the way the things are changing into the world, and especially into IT, right? The things like it's moving too fast, very fast, I would say, and you have to keep up with that. Like previously, a technology used to come and stay there for 20-30 years, nowadays a technology or a tool will come and it will get replaced in 3 to 5 years with an even better version. So the key is you have to be flexible in switching your experience and applying your kind of logic, what you have learned from your previous or past experience to the new technology or tool. So I think with this in mind, I could relate it in a way of how the younger generation would it is important for them to make an impact is to keep up with the speed, the way it's going on. You don't have much time, right? It's not like gone are the days where you would be a champion in COBOL or mainframe and you're just sitting aside that, yeah, I know just one language and I can happily retire based on that. That gone are those days. So the younger generation, I think they know this, and I think to make an impact, they have to pick up things like Python, Go language, Lambdas, AWS, ChatGPT and AI, and we are just discussing. It has been a theme for a couple of years back, but with ChatGPT, it has changed the game 360 in a way. So it's quite important for the youngsters as such, or anybody in this field today, irrespective of their age, to create an impact and to stand out on what they're working on. The second thing I would answer, the answer to your second question, I would put it in this way. So as again, every work that a member does is equally important, but the thing that makes it special, special is a word some people might get offended, special about DevOps is, again, I will link it back to my previous answer, the variety of work we get. For developers, the zone or the boundaries are quite easy, right? For a QA, the boundaries are quite easy. They can derive in a way that manual testing, automation testing, and things like that, or using tools like robotic process automation, RPAs. But for DevOps, it's development plus QA plus ops plus security plus cost and plus name you anything. In my experience, and I always joke this in our team meeting chats as such, if it's not a QA problem, if it's not a dev problem, it's a DevOps problem.
Yes.
And the variety of work that comes into DevOps, it's like people, and I did joke with one of my colleagues, I said, like, people think DevOps as a Wikipedia of problems, right? If it's not a thing, just ask DevOps team, they might have something, or they will deal with it, they will solve it, they know that. Sometimes it is good to have this problem, but it's challenging as well. So I think the way the DevOps team or any member react to the problem and the variety of problem is itself challenging, but very well commending term itself, right? You have to keep yourself up to date, solve different problem, and the variety of the problems that a DevOps engineer solves, I would just say hats off to them, each and every one of them. So
yep, that makes sense.
Might make them stand a bit different from the crowd.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why they had to invent the whole periodic table for DevOps, because there is so much stuff out there, right? Atomic created that periodic table. Yeah,
exactly, and it's only, I would think, only one or two of the areas where you could fill a proper atomic table like that. One thing which I would just like to add here, Savinder, and for the audience is, the important thing is, it's not about just getting into DevOps and working as a DevOps engineer or any other DevOps role. The thing is, you have to that mindset, you have to that openness about solving problems, and that will take you wonders ahead.
So that's great. That's exactly what I was writing in my notes. Talk to me about that mindset. What does it, because you read any literature, they say DevOps is a mindset, DevOps is a culture. What the heck does it actually mean? What does it mean when you say you should have a DevOps mindset? Give me an example.
I think one thing which is very important about DevOps mindset is the ownership. And most of the problem that a team would have is due to lack of ownership. Now, that could be picked up by anybody. It could be a QA, it could be a product manager, it could be a scrum master. There are some persons as well, I have seen in this organization, in previous organization as well, wonderful QAs, wonderful scrum masters who like to take that ownership. And I think that is something, that mindset, ownership of a problem, ownership of a thing that you are working on, that I won't be saying that, okay, it's not my problem. It's your problem.
Yeah.
Go to check with that guy. It's the ownership that kind of is required, is a key element to that story, to that.
Okay.
It's a very key
So
ingredient, I would say.
perfect. So hang on to that thought and dig deeper. Give me an example of where, maybe a hypothetical or a real example. I'll leave it to you, but an example of ownership taken by a DevOps engineer. What does it actually mean?
I'm trying to frame an analogy over here, but I think I might have to end up with a real world scenario example as such.
Yeah, you can abstract out the details. I'm just looking for the thought process. That's all.
I think, for example, if you are onto any issue, any production issue where there are numerous team members into that call trying to understand what the problem is, there are very few people, not only DevOps, there are some others, but there are very few people who like to, irrespective of where that problem belongs to or who is responsible to solve that problem, they like to take the ownership, they like to step in, they like to help the team out. That, oh, can we try this? Can we ask these team to do X, Y, Z things? Okay, is it not working? Can we try something different? Can we do a tactical solution? Can we? It's again about the what. The customer is important. So how we can quickly fix that issue for the customer. Maybe it would be a temporary solution, but give that customer a better experience. And the mindset to solve that is what is required. So we have been on numerous similar incidents where you will have 20 odd people joining on the call, but there are only very few people who will just lead that call towards solution. Their role could be something different which they don't do into their day-to-day work, but that's the mindset which I like and which will take them ahead. And that's exactly a DevOps mindset. And as I was mentioning, DevOps is not a technology. You don't need to know Nginx, Kubernetes, and things like that to be DevOps. It's a process, it's a culture thing. It's very important. So irrespective of who you are, a Scrum Master or a product owner, you need to have that DevOps mindset. You need to have that DevOps culture for the organization to succeed.
So I think this beautifully goes back to your initial comment of why is this problem occurring? What can I do to solve it? Right? And asking the right questions.
Correct.
You might not have the right answers. You might not be an expert in that field, but just the attitude that, hey, let me absorb this. Can we try this? Can we try this? Can we ask this guy? Can we call up that guy? Maybe he knows something. That is also ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well done. Well put. Okay, so let me move ahead. Okay. So in your entire journey, you've worked with some phenomenal people as peers, as seniors across the board, right? So when you are in the DevOps journey, there are a lot of things that you can learn from other people because it needs definitely core technical skills. It needs this mindset that we are talking about, and this mindset has several layers to it, like an onion. You keep peeling it and you keep building it year after year, right? So my question to you is, how important has been personal mentorship to you in your success, and what are some of the lessons learned along the way?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's a very sensitive in a way that it's a personal question in a way of how you would see it. But if I put a generic nature to it, it's quite, I would see is everybody's, and again, it's not a philosophical thought that I'm going to put over here.
No, good.
Everyone, right? Irrespective, a mentor doesn't need to be a senior, right? Or a person who has done excellently well in his field and has proven, right? It could be anyone. It could be a person you're working with. It could be someone else from the different team. You have to find out those smaller learning points. Oh, how that person reacted to that situation could be a learning from me, and he could or she could have inspired me to adapt that kind of thought process in my day-to-day work. But coming back to the mentorship, I think it's very important. And I can highly advocate on it that you should have one or two mentors, and it should be from a different variety. So have have those discussions with your peers, not only about work, but also how things are working differently, some from your industry at the same level maybe, so you know how things work, the same thing works in a different organization, but also have that mentorship from a experienced person. And by experience, it doesn't have to be age by number of years, but the experience they had in their field that could teach you a bit, very much on that front. And I would say I've been quite fortunate till date on my journey. I have got nice mentors. You are one of them, Savinder. You know that. I quite look forward to you on your journey as such. Andy Carr, who I proudly name on this video as well, has been an amazing mentor in my journey. And there are a lot of few others as such, but you always have to find these persons, these kind of, not only to be there to so that they are your role model, but also to learn a bit from them. Even if you get 1% from them, this is really helpful. So it's really important. You can't know it all, and hence the person.
I agree. So what are the ways in which you can identify a mentor? How do you go about, because you can't like take a torchlight and start looking for a mentor, right? You don't go to people and say, hey, can you be my mentor? It doesn't work that way. Right?
Yeah, people try that in terms of offering, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Doesn't work. So how do you build that relationship with people where before realizing it, you know that, hey, this guy is mentor category and he's probably already doing it with me? How do you build that stuff?
I think having that relation is very important. And I don't have an exact answer on how you identify that he is going to be the right mentor, but I would have some input on it in a way of how you can help that person to be your mentor. I go with the phrase, help me help you, right? I can't just go with anyone like, this is the problem I want to solve. I have to help that person in order to help me, right? So you have to have that kind of discussion, that kind of openness, honesty in that conversation, so that person you're looking for help or mentorship is able to understand what actually you're looking for, and it's always a two-way thing. You have to help that person to help you back. So I think that is very important in this particular mentorship.
Yeah, beautiful put. I love that answer. You have to, it's a two-way street, right? You have to go halfway, and then hopefully the other person comes halfway, understands you. And the other important thing which I liked what you said is a healthy, open and honest relationship.
Exactly.
Because that's the bedrock of any mentorship, right? You're feeling great, talk to the guy. If you're not feeling so great, definitely talk to the guy. Exactly. And see how he or she responds over a period of time, and that could help you find the mentor. Perfect.
Really.
So, before I wrap up, I want to touch upon one more thing. Now, we've spoken about the great things of DevOps, right? But we know that this can be a very, very high pressure job at some times. Especially when, the shit has hit the ceiling, you're 20 people on the call, the site is down, the customer is shouting, stress levels can go really high. And they can happen frequently in various shapes or forms, and they can happen long term also. So my question is, you've lived this journey, right? You've handled these situations, and yet you still have a lot of hair still there. So you're still maintaining sanity, right? So give the audience some tips on how do you handle mental health? How do you maintain sanity up here?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, because I am still figuring the answer for that. To be honest, I still struggle.
Everybody is figuring it out. Yeah.
The one good thing before I answer to that one is, now in the last couple of years, people are okay to talk about that. That's a very beautiful development that has happened in our industry, especially because this is not a new problem, right? Everybody has pressures, but it's okay to talk about that. That mentality is really great. I think the first thing, and to answer your question, the first thing is, it's okay to not be okay, is what I always say with a couple of my team members. You don't have to be perfect. It's absolutely fine. You may end up breaking the issue. You may end up breaking the website. It's totally fine. It's not entertaining it, but in irrespective of whatever situation you are, you might not have answer to every problem. So it's really okay. And I think mental health, for not only at my level or any other peer level or any other from junior to the CEO level, it's very important, wherein and nowadays post COVID and the way of work everybody is getting, it's becoming a must to take care of yourself. So I think the thing from my experience, how I'm trying to help myself is organizing a bit. And by organizing, I'm not saying about having a proper diary and just following that thing, but going slow, just writing down your thoughts, 3 thoughts, as in 3 things that you want to do tomorrow that are running in your mind when you're going to sleep. Just write it down on a paper. Don't go digital. Just write it down on a paper. 3 things which I want to do tomorrow. It could be just simple. I want to reply to Savinder. Yeah, job done. Just write that down. I've started this since last couple of months, and it has helped me in terms of at least getting a better sleep. I don't have those thoughts anymore when I'm on my bed. So
it's not the running thread anymore.
Exactly. So the moment you write it down, you know that that you already have disconnected from it. So I think that's very important. And just one more thing I want to add over is find your way to disconnect from the work after 9 to 5. The irony of work from home post COVID is presenting a very hard challenge on how you disconnect. You're sleeping in the same room where you have your laptop running every time, which is full charge, because you don't even switch off the battery button. So you don't have an excuse that my battery has discharged. 8:30 after dinner, you might thought of, let me open it, let me just check what's happening. You have to stop. So find a way, routine to disconnect it. It could be even as pack your laptop, pack your headset, your mouse, anything into your office bag, take that office bag into a different room and just disconnect. It might help.
Physical disconnection.
Yeah. Does it help me? So I try to pack it at least twice a week.
Okay, not bad.
That's a progress. Yeah. No, but it's necessity nowadays.
No, I completely agree. And we have a system in the house where every couple of weekends we do a detox weekend. So what we do is we take everybody's phone and we put it in a jar and we keep the jar in the drawing room. And you get only your phone if it rings. That's the only time you pick it up.
Wow.
Otherwise, no touching. So phones, tablets, everything goes in that big box and it's in the dining table. So you don't get it until the damn thing rings. No social media, nothing for one weekend.
Wow.
So it's fun.
Must be hard, I must say.
No, it is hard, but it's fun. After a period of time, then you have suddenly so much time you don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah. I can relate. Good one.
All right, perfect. So, Nikhil, last final question. So, you've been in this area for a while now. So, what keeps you excited about DevOps in 2023?
Okay, I think a short answer would be DevOps, or the work around DevOps is really exciting, and there is no year-end limitation. I'm sure the challenges and the opportunity to learn in this field is tremendous. So I'm sure it's going to keep me excited for not only 23 but many more years going forward. But one interesting thing that I'm looking forward on how it develops is about the AI in DevOps into the cloud field. We talk about ChatGPT is really a great tool, but do I want to integrate it with my work? No, because of the challenges, and I'm saying no from my perspective, because of the challenges cybersecurity presents today. So it's really tough, and especially in this position as such, where you have to find the right balance, where there are a lot of developers who are just excited to get that ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot integrated on with the code base so that they can just start kind of playing with that, but at the same
10x
time
developer. Overnight 10x developer.
Exactly, and I'm holding that anyhow. Like it's a bit hard, but I have put it a blocker as such because of the kind of cons from a cybersecurity presence. I'm not saying that it's not good, don't use it. I'm saying that I'm a bit skeptical, and that is the thing which I'm excited as such as well about it. There are discussions going on, a private version of ChatGPT, things like that. And so
Yeah.
that ChatGPT or AI and cybersecurity are those two fields which I'm very excited in 2023
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
look where they are going.
Sure. So, any last thoughts for somebody who's just starting on with his DevOps journey, his or her, and they've just, passed out of college thinking about it, or they've just got their first job as a DevOps engineer? Any thoughts for them?
I think firstly I would envy a bit on those guys because they have starting their journey with DevOps at the very first, and so yeah, jokes apart. But I think it's a really interesting and very challenging but good challenging in a good way field. So ownership is the thing which I say, like it doesn't have to be ownership of a project. Ownership of the work that you're gonna do is important, and having that open mindset to learn things, to solve problem. I think these are the two key takeaways I would like to put over here for anybody who is
Yeah.
new or looking forward to join this field.
Yeah, I remember a book I read a while back by Robin Sharma. It said the leader with no title or something like that. Or leadership has no title, something like that. It's exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, that you can be a developer, a junior developer, and yet be a leader.
Exactly.
Yep, I think that kind of summarizes everything. So, Nikhil, I want to thank you because this has been a fun conversation, and we could have gone on for probably 2 hours more, but being YouTube and all that, we have to keep it short, right? But thank you so much for doing this and for pouring your heart out. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Savinder. It was lovely as always talking to you, and hope somebody finds this helpful.
I'm sure people will, and I will encourage everybody to put their reactions in the comments so that we can get some conversations going, and they can find you on LinkedIn and know more about your story as well. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Savinder.